Hello, this is the Aftermarket Report with Jim in Vegas. Today's date is December the 23rd, 2018, and hello, Vegas.
Hi, Jim, and hello. It's Sunday morning. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. So, just wanted to just talk about some stocks today. It's a little bit longer than a normal list, just in anticipation maybe for tomorrow. A lot of people probably won't even be trading, but in case you are, I'm just going to give you some stocks that we're going to talk about today and that we're going to be watching. So, we're going to be talking about MRIN, UXIN, KALY, which is OTC. ASTC, OBLN, ADIL, MICT, and NIO. So we're first going to start off with MRIN software. So this is the stock that everyone knows had the little deal. I shouldn't even say little, because it's just been one hell of a ride. But the deal with Google, and this stock has seriously moved extremely beautifully. For those of you that have traded this from, where it was earlier in the week, if you held it from back then to Friday, my God, I got to give you congratulations because your patience is phenomenal. But even if you didn't and you just day traded it, good job. I mean, this stock had a beautiful run even on Friday. I mean, we saw tens, and I thought, and I called it in the morning and I said, I'm going to see $10 today. And you know what? I was happy when it printed that 10. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim to talk about this chart because we're still bullish on MRIN.
We're very bullish on MRIN. We sure were last week when we called it out. I'm just going to post it, and this thing can go up to a resistance level of $11.20. That was the yearly high, and it had a pretty good little sell-off to the bottom here, and right when it got that right here at 215. And when it got that news, it started showing some good relatively that it was going to bounce, but when it got that Google news last week, it just ran up big time. And it was one of the best trades that I've probably done all year long. So I'm going to bring up the 20-day, and you can see how we started having this little attention here. It's starting. I bet you that's when the insiders were getting the news that it was going to team up with Google. So we called this out at 324 and had a good breakout, and it pulled back and hit a support, and then it bounced on up, and it did the same thing. It pulled back, and then it bounced on up, and it pulled back, and it bounced on up, and it pulled back a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the daily chart on this. This was a great trade, and I'm going to pull up a 5-day and magnify this just to show you how impressed I was with this trade. And I'm going to use a 15-minute chart on it. So we had this first breakout here, and I was calling these trades out right and left. And I said it was going to pull back a little bit and hit support, which it did, was previous consolidated period, and it bounced up and hit my resistance. And then it pulled back, and it went ahead and bounced back up again. So I'm 100% bullish on this. We closed at 970 on Friday. We followed this trend line. I'm going to pull up this 1-day chart here real fast. And we were calling this out from there and followed this trend line all the way up. Then when it started showing a little sign of weakness, it didn't pull back that much. I mean, it just ran right to the 200 SMA that I have on a daily 1 minute, and it held that pretty well with some little bounces up here. I think I flipped this probably 15 times Friday, every bit of it, because I was just calling. It was just such an easy call. So let's see how this thing turns out this week. MRIN, I'm still bullish on it. But if I'm going to get a solid support right here around 865. I think, if it pulls back, it has two supports at 865 and maybe right around 940 something. So keep MRIN on watch. And UXIN.
Well, UXIN, I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Jim. I mean, you've been the one that's been bullish on this one all this time, so I'm just going to let you talk all about it.
All right. Well, she was a baby. She was easy to call. She went up. This is a 5-day chart, so I'm going to pull up a 20. And I just love it when I've called this thing down here at the bottom here at 281, and we ran up and got us about a 300% trade out of it. And on the way up, I kept scalping it. I'd get out at the high and I'd wait for it to pull back. And then there was days where it just didn't want to pull back. But every time it had a real big bounce, it would pull back to the next high of the previous day. And then we just run that 50 all the way up in this 20-day chart. Every time it hit that 50, that was a good place to buy at. So then the other day, I telling the room Thursday, or at least I said in one of our reports, maybe the last one, to expect it, that we've kind of hit a place where I think a resistance is, and it was going to pull back pretty good. Well, if I'd have kept my eyes on this stock when it had that pullback that I called, it would have been a wonderful entry, because it pulled back right around $7, and then Friday it ran all the way to 8.30. Then this did get some news about China's wanting to have some more regulations on the gas cars, and they're trying to push these EV cars, electric vehicles, up. So I want you to keep NIO on your watch list on this stock, because NIO's now at a 3-month high. I mean low. And so we could get a pretty good little bounce off NIO next week too. So, and I'm just putting these two together because one of them promotes gasoline engines and they try to sell them, and then the other one, in that news article, could maybe have that, after a 5-day sell-off on NIO, it could probably have a rebound on it. So the next one, Vegas really loves this one here. It's my girlfriend named KALY.
Oh yeah, I love KALY. I mean, this company just keeps getting more and more news. I mean, I got to tell you, I think they got news every couple weeks, but they did have the recent news that they were updating on their phase 2 clinical study about, the CBD and prevention of this disease called acute GVHD, which is really called graft versus host disease, which is an illness you can get when you get a bone marrow transplant done. So it's a very life-threatening complication that does affect bone marrow transplant patients. So anyhow, what they've noticed is that they've been doing a study, and it's a phase 2 study, and they've recognized that no patients have developed this acute illness while receiving CBD treatment. So that is amazing. I mean, to see that, cannabis is helping with, things like this. So what the patients, it was a 12 patient that were going through the process, and the results were quite positive. And as a result, they're going to have, I think, more patients enrolled, and they're going to have completed the entire course of treatment by February 2019, the end of February 2019. So we will hear probably more updates on this, but I have to say that really pleased with KALY, the actual company. I love that where they're going. It's had a nice run, and then it's had a really nice pullback. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim to actually talk about this pullback, because I think there's more juice in KALY. So
Yeah.
Jim, over to you.
Well, when we talked about KALY, Vegas jumped right in it, and she jumped right in it down here at a very low price, and she's keeping a core position. She has an idea, and I do too, that this thing can run to 10 cents. Some are saying 25. So we did. We ran it up, and then on this day here, some idiot came out and he badmouthed it, and I said, no, this stock's still good. So play the pullback. And it pulled back, and I called this little support level right here at 0093, and then 5 days later we're back up at my target. We hit 3 cents. And the funny thing about it, we came into the room and it was at 18.018. And I was saying to the room, I said, if this goes up to 2, we're going to go to 2.5 and then 3. And it did. It ran up there, and then we had a consolidated area right here just under 4 cents. And I could tell by the pattern of that chart that we were going to have a little correction, because it just didn't want to break that 4. And we didn't have a little one, we had a big one. This thing dropped more than 100% or a little less than 100, well, about 100%. I mean, we're down here to 1.5, and I got in on that knife and held it for a swing trade the next day. And, I got out right at open, and then it ran all the way back up to 3. And it pulled back to the 50 SMA, and there was another entry level right here. So, KALY, we're definitely bullish on, and the volume's still there. They brought that new guy in, that new inventor to the company, so this is really getting a big boost of attention. So keep KALY on watch, and we're going to have a target. We want to bust past this 393. We want to bring it on up. I think any knife or pullback will be just a healthy. Play it off however arsenal you have, but keep a good eye on it. And then next one's going to be ASTC.
Okay, so ASTC, Tech Corporation. I think a lot of you actually stock, and this company here. I think, Jim, is this the one that you mentioned to me too? That they had a deal with Lilly.
Yep.
Eli Lilly.
Well, this is the airport one.
ADIL Pharmaceutical.
No. ASTC was the one that had the bomb tracer thing.
You're talking about ADIL right now.
No, ASTC.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay.
That was next in line.
I was confused with Astrotech Corp.
Yeah.
So Astrotech Corporation also has a deal. They've actually announced that they had passed the ECAC test, and they're expected to be in global airports very soon. And that was actually good news for the company. I mean, Astrotech is in Texas. They do a lot of science and technology development. They actually have a very interesting website, to say the least. But this actual company, I mean, I really like this weekly chart, and this is what appealed to me a lot. So I think that there's more room here for the stock to move. I am bullish on the stock. And I'll let Jim talk about the chart, but I really liked what I was looking at on the weekly. And I think for those of you that are not really liking day trades, ASTC might be a stock that you might want to watch or consider as a swing trade. I really like the way it behaved the last couple days. So I think it's got a lot more in it. And I'll just let Jim talk more about that. But the weekly chart's really nice.
Yep. The weekly chart and the yearly chart's real nice. This thing had run up all the way. I mean, it had a major pullback about the middle of the year to $1.64, and then all of a sudden it had this big bounce to $8.15 in one day. And then so it consolidated and pulled back, and then it's just a nice looking up and down chart, which I can appreciate. So I'm going to bring it up to the 20-day, and you will see what I'm talking about. The last 5 to 6 to 7 days here, last 8 days, it's been very bullish. It's a great little channel. It played off the 100 SMA here, hit the 200, bounced on up, and hit a resistance at 494. So I'm going to pull it up that yearly again, just to show you. That's about, that's a pretty good little resistance there. So we got target next, which would be a hard resistance at 562. Well, on a breakout like we had Friday, where it ran all the way from 316 up to $5, almost a $2 bounce, well, you definitely have to keep it on watch. So I'm going to pull up the 1 day, and you see what happened right before the market closed on Friday. It had the big bounce. It bounced all the way up to that 5. It didn't happen until the end of the day. And then after hours, you're going to have people getting out of it, selling it and taking profit because of that huge bounce. H-U-G-E, huge. So we've pulled back here to 375 after hours. I can't wait to see what this thing does Monday. I'm not in it right now. I always like to play a little pullback, and looks like we had one. So we're going to see how it acts, and I'm going to try to see if I can get a scalp out of it, and maybe hold me a small core position. But I'm definitely going to keep it on watch, and that's going to be ASTC. And Vegas, you know which one we're going to talk about next?
Yes. I mean, I should have just, I could have switched my order here. Anyways, we'll just talk now about OBLN.
Yep.
So Obalon Therapeutics. This also had some news, and as a result, the stock did move on Friday. We were in the stock at 255, took it all the way to 330, stop loss at 315. So traded that green. And actually, I still like the weekly chart. I mean, I think there's still some opportunity here on this particular stock on OBLN. You know, some people were disappointed because they bought the stock at a higher price and then the stock pulled back. And, you know, as you guys know, this company produces, you know, they're in the industry of providing medical devices and implants. And they are at a commercial stage where they are focusing on commercializing medical devices that treat obese and overweight people by facilitating weight loss. And they have this product called the Obalon balloon system, which is something that is you swallow it, and then a gas-filled balloon is designed to provide weight loss. So this is really interesting. I mean, I would love to read more about this company so I could talk about it more next time. But I think this is a really cool concept. So anyhow, this is they did have news about this, and as a result, the stock moved, but it also pulled back. So where do you see? What do you see in this chart, Jim? Because there is an opportunity here to probably still trade the stock.
Yeah, I was looking. You're saying it's for weight loss. So I'm showing some before and after pictures of a couple ladies here that have been tested through it. And I'll tell you what, it does do wonders for them. And in a short period of time, 6 months, I think, must be removed after 6 months. It says here the balloon.
Yes.
So yeah, this is interesting.
And
So
also men have been using this, not
oh
just ladies.
oh really?
Yes.
Well yeah,
I
that's
mean, I think they show a lot of pictures of women, but I'm sure there's a lot of men that use
yeah
it too. So
yeah
there you go. There's a gentleman, you know, men too. So
yeah
this is a great, I mean, great product.
yes
You know, this could put other companies, weight loss companies, out of business.
oh yeah. And so
But yeah,
let's look at the chart. We had a cup and handle here. Yes, Friday. It broke out from 161 and all the way up to 340. Created a little resistance right here around 312. I'm going to put that 312 line in there right now so I can have that come Monday. So we pulled back, and I didn't play this play because I was so interested in MRIN. I didn't want to take my eyes off of it. But we did have a nice pullback, and people were asking me about this stock in the room, and I said, yeah, I think we're down here in a cup and handle part when it was down here at the bottom to start looking for a reversal. And I said, you know, if you want to cost average down, it might be a good idea, and you could get out. If you got in too high, you could probably get out and take a profit. Or so it bounced on up. It ran up to 263, then it hit that 281, and it held here after hours at 260. So I'm definitely going to keep this one on watch come Monday morning, which is tomorrow. And remember, the market's going to be closed tomorrow right around 1 o'clock. So keep that in mind. Probably not going to be a very busy day, but who knows? There's always on days like that, there's always a great play to be played in my history as a trader. So we closed at 260. We've got it on watch, and I'm going to be taking a close eye on it come Monday. And now, Vegas, you got your Adele. You can talk
well, you
about
know
her all
what?
you want.
Yeah. So ADIL Pharmaceutical. So I really like this stock, and the reason I really like it, aside from the news that it had, I really like the fact that it had a new 52-week closing high. So that, you know, those kind of setups really intrigue me very much. The chart's been nothing but bullish. If you guys go, you know, as far back as even, you know, December 13th, there was a parabolic rise. There was a lot of volume surges happening here on this stock. And I actually think the stock is, you know, definitely undervalued in my opinion. However, I still feel that the stock has room to go more. The fact that it made a nice new 52-week high is extremely promising. And I also like the news on the company. And, you know, I think for those of you that are looking for a swing trade, you know, because sometimes day trading is so stressful, the in and out. So something where you can get in at a good support level, and Jim will talk about that, You should be writing them down, where he sees the entry and support and resistance, because that should be like where you would consider going into the trade and also where you're going to get out. As you guys know, Jim always has a plan where he gets in and where he gets out, because again, nobody wants to be holding a bag. And we're going to talk a lot about that in going forward with future videos. And we'll probably have some educational content that will be coming out in the future. So stay tuned for that. So Jim, talk about, where you see supports and resistance on this chart, because it's made a new 52-week high, but this could also pull back a little, but I think there'll be a continuation on the stock.
Yeah, and the news, it got a deal contract with University of Virginia, and plus it fights opioids. So that's with the opioid addiction we have in this country. That's probably one of the catalysts that makes this stock run real good. So we're going to post it. We're going to pull up ADIL, and I like. Oh, I was just singing songs last week when this thing ran, and when Vegas was gone. And let me show you something here on this 20-day. This is a beautiful 20-day chart. I just love this 20-day chart. I called this thing out when it was down at 130, and it ran all the way up to $5 in 2 days. And I was telling the room, I said, it's time for a pullback. You get something that bounces up so strong like this, and so people are going to. I'm going to take profit. I'm going to take profit, and I'm going to be playing the ups and downs on it because it has it has impressive swings. You can just 40, 50 cent swings on this thing. And so we had a breakout while Vegas was back on vacation from here when it was down here at $2, and it ran all the way up to 427, 420, 440. And then again, we had that little correction, and we run this trend line. See how it bounces off that trend line? So I've got this trend line going right now, and I'm very bullish on this stock too. I'm very bullish because I like to play the pullbacks. So I always say, don't chase nothing. If you're a stock you like, just let it come to you. So I'm gonna try to guess that maybe it might bounce to around 330 at the lowest. So write down 330 on your board for an entry, and see if we can keep or maybe hit this trend right around $3. But it could go ahead and bounce on up too, because we had that after hour high at 430, and that's where I had this last trend line over here at 427. So we hit that trend line, and the next resistance on this is going to be right around 441. So that's where you want to take it. So play the pullback on this stock. Make sure the volume's there and the momentum, but we're definitely 100% bullish on this trade. And I love this stock, ADIL. And then the next one Vegas is going to bring up is going to be MICT.
Yeah, so MICT, I called the stock in the room on Friday saying, that it also had some news too. And, people were like, oh, what's so big about the stock? But, it had good news. MICT, as you guys know, they have an agreement with Brookfield Interactive, which is a Hong Kong-based company, to sign a definitive acquisition agreement with Paragon X. Now, I just want to explain who Brookfield Interactive is, because they're a Hong Kong company. They are a company with a focus on Chinese lottery. As you guys know, Chinese lottery is massive. They're in the sports and gaming market, and they have a very good history of executing their digital technology strategies in China. And they have really strong relationships with the Chinese provincial lottery centers, the government, and also various portals. So, the connection between MICT, who obviously is listed on the NASDAQ, they provide mobile services and also mobile resource management and mobile computing platforms and logistics management in the US, Europe, and of course, where I just came from, Israel. So this is a really good news in my opinion. Paragon X is a developer of software solutions, and they do online trading in contracts for difference in various global financial instruments like stocks, like commodities, like indices, and ETFs. So this is a really interesting synergy between these three. And what they're going to be doing now, these three together, are creating a new company called Global FinTech Holdings, which actually makes sense because if you think about what those three all do, they're all involved in financial technology. So I think there's going to be some good growth potential with MICT. And I'll let Jim talk about that chart, but I think there's going to be more good news on MICT down the road.
Yeah, and I was watching a video of a guy that I follow that was in China, and he said there's a city that he mentioned in there, but the gambling they more or less have this one city just for gambling alone, and they rake in a lot more money than Las Vegas ever thought about. So the Chinese really like to gamble. So I wanted to bring that up. But the yearly chart's beautiful. We had a real good sell-off. We had a real good sell-off, and I think where'd it close at? At MI 86 cents. So to me, that is way below support. Support on this stock's right around a buck, and that's where you start. We want to break that buck and get above it, but it can pull back to another support level I have here at 65.84. Just looking at the yearly chart, if it does have a pullback, but we're definitely bullish on it, and I'm going to bring this up to a 20-day so I can have a different picture. You see how I like to bring up the yearly first, then I'm going to bring up a 20-day, and you can see what happened here right here Thursday evening. We had that big breakout. Went from 29 cents all the way up to a buck, and I mentioned that a little bit earlier. And then we had to pull back after that big run. That's what is that, about 300, 400% run almost, 300 and some percent run after hours. Okay, and then it pulled back to my support level here at 66.58, kind of consolidated right there. That's where I got that red line. And then it followed up the trend line. So every time it hit that trend line, it bounced on up. We got a little created support right here. I'm going to put that in there at 78.23. So let's see if we can get to that first support, or if it go ahead and continue on up. But if we break the dollar, that's where it's going to really start getting interesting. And I'm going to pull up that 1-year chart one more time, show you where that dollar is. That dollar's right there at support level. See if it fill the gap. If we can get to that dollar, we can bring it on up, and I can start drawing some new resistance lines in here. So maybe $1.09, $1.20 would be maybe a good little pivot point on a yearly chart. About $1.20 could be a support there maybe, but it's definitely going to be called a resistance because that's where the 200 SMA is at 118.25. I'm with Vegas on this. I'm very bullish on it, and I'm going to have it on my watch list. Looking forward Monday for maybe definitely a scalp, because I think it's up a little bit high, but it depends on the momentum and how she acts next week. And so we got that on, and I mentioned NIO a little earlier. I said we'd probably get a pullback on it. We got it. I was bearish last week on it. This week I'm going to start being bullish because we hit a triple bottom since the IPO came out, and that's NIO. And then I'm going to throw one more in there that I think is really cool, and that's going to be called Lululemon. But see the triple bottom on NIO, and then I'm going to post this one out to one of the founders of Stocktwits, Mr. Howard.
And I do want to mention, I love Lululemon. I mean, Canadian company. The clothes are so comfortable. I am not even kidding you, Jim. You got to buy yourself some lemon pants.
I think I will. I could probably trade in them pretty good, if they're comfortable, because I wear sweats.
I think your concentrating and trading will go up. I mean, they're so comfortable. You don't even feel like you got anything on. I mean, that's how comfortable the product is.
Yep.
And I've had Lululemon products that I've had for a couple of years, and the quality is just amazing. And I wash them constantly, and the quality is just so good. And the customer service, I got to tell you, the stuff's not cheap. So let's be clear on that. Unless you can find a sale, which, the sales are not that huge. But you know what? The quality is just really good and comfortable. And that's why people buy the stuff. And they have good service.
Yep.
And service goes a long way. Okay. People are loyal to the brand. That's very important. So, Jim, you tell us about that chart because that's on sale.
Yep. Howard, I hope you got your ears on because last time I mentioned this one to you, it was down here at 113 and it bounced all the way up to 122 where that 200 SMA is. So what I'm thinking, we're going to have a Santa Claus rally on this maybe come this week, and it'll bounce maybe back up to about halfway at least. I think you at least get $5 out of this trade. We're at 113.74 right now, which is a yearly bottom. And there's the chart to prove it to you right there. So that kind of concludes our market report. Vegas, you got a conclusion, or you want to say something here at the end?
No, I just want to say thanks to everyone for liking, following, subscribing. We will have a little contest coming up, so I will be looking to share the details probably maybe tomorrow. So stay tuned for Monday's update, and I'll give you guys, our YouTubers, a contest. And I think you guys will actually like it because it's to thank you for following us and subscribing. But we have something I think that you'll like to participate in because at the end of the day, it's going to help you. So, and that's what we're about, is helping the trading community. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in and for following, liking, subscribing, and also especially for the fabulous feedback that you guys give us. And we appreciate any comments you share because it just helps us to improve. And we're always looking to do better and better. So it helps everybody. So thank you for tuning in, and definitely look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, speaking of better, I give Vegas kudos for making me a better trader. Being a trader with her for the last year and a half has opened my eyes to other ways. And, you know, we're always learning. And we learn from the ones that don't know how to trade, and we learn from the ones that really know how to trade. And Vegas, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I just want to say Jim's turning me into a scalper.
Yep. Well,
So,
I've
you know,
seen I've
it's
seen
actually
times where
great. I like it.
yeah I've
I
seen
like it because I'm learning to take the money faster. So not maybe I love holding positions long, but also sometimes I'm taking the money profits faster. And in the end, no bag holding for me.
yep.
But I will say sometimes I still have bags here and there. So I am not a perfect trader, and people that say that they are lying. So yeah, anyhow, I definitely, you know, people do have losses. No one can say they're a perfect trader. That is human nature. So, we know we're real. We try to be open and honest every single day. And, you know, if you're listening to us on the YouTube channel and you haven't even visited our little room there, you're welcome to come by. You know, come check it out. There's nothing required. Come on in, come connect with us on voice. Love to meet you, love to get to know you. And, you know, maybe you decide you like to be part of the family, but, you know, no harm in coming in. So come and visit us, and hopefully you'll want to be part of this fabulous, fabulous group that we are a part of. So thank you, everyone, for making this journey amazing.
All right. This is the aftermarket report with Vegas and Jim. Today's date 12/23/2018, and we love stocks.